Hey guys, Scott here. And it's been kind of slow in the whole DVD community. There's not been much going on. We're still waiting on the Trickster to actually come out. Those spicy dramas are happening because I totally comment on those a lot. And yeah, there's not much to talk about. So I thought I would do just another tier list for fun, except this tier list is going to be about fun. Usually people make tier lists to say what they think is the best. Today I'm going to make a tier list that is objective and absolute hard truth of which killers are the most fun to play. I'll probably do another one that's the most fun to play against, but I wanted to kind of take this in a different direction from simply who's the best to who is the most fun to play. So obviously, I was joking. This is all opinion based. Some people find certain killers very fun. I find certain killers very boring. This is just what I think. So let's get started. And I'm curious if you guys agree with some of the things that I will say. Wowie. First up is Legion. I think original Legion would be in his own tier below F because he was the most boring killer ever made. However, New Legion is still pretty boring to me. Now, it's so weird. Like when people talk about Legion, like I ask why some people like playing Legion, and they'll say like, well, they like running fast and with a knife and stuff like that, and stabbing a bunch of people at once. But he doesn't even really run that fast. Like he runs like slightly faster than normal, and his whole power is to just hope that people are close together. I don't know. He's just fucking boring. He's F. I find Legion just no. I can't put him in F because I find killers more boring than him, so I'll put him in D. Because he go fast, I guess. I don't know. I find Legion's gameplay, like there's no skill cap to it. You play Legion for 5 minutes and you know how to play him. And it's pretty boring. Plague. Plague is kind of boring at the beginning of the match. She can still get insta downs on people. And it can be fun, aiming your stuff. So that's okay. But when you get Corrupt Purge, then she's actually really fun. Corrupt Purge is one of the most fun powers in the game to play. Because it's like, Huntress hatchets, but just fucking just spewing it everywhere. So, just for how fun Corrupt Purge is, I'm going to say Plague is a B. Because, yeah, that shit's actually really fun to use. Now, you only get one at the match, at the start of the match, and then you have to rely on survivors to heal. But at the end of the day, even just using her regular stuff is kind of fun. There's somewhat of a skill cap to it. There's an arc. You have to know what you're doing at least. So it can be kind of fun. Trapper. Trapper to go against is very boring. Trapper to play, however, is actually kind of fun. I think if you're a good Trapper, he's kind of like a B on fun tier because setting up like your web of shit everywhere and waiting for survivors to basically be corralled into it by you is pretty fun on a strategic sense. It's not fun on like a mechanic sense where, you have to have like, flick aim or like, quick reaction times. But in terms of like the whole mastermind planning thing, Trapper is actually pretty fun to play. There are definitely boring ways to play Trapper, and a lot of people do play him like that, where they just, put 15 traps around the basement and go, wow, look at this engaging game. But big brain Trappers that actually like, play the game and put traps in like just random ass spots and then corral survivors to them, it can be pretty fun and pretty rewarding to play Trapper. Wraith, for some reason, I fucking love Wraith. I don't know why. Right? It's the same argument for Legion where he doesn't really do much. He just goes invisible. But the reason I find Wraith so fun to play is he negates the whole W playstyle the way I play Wraith. The way I play Wraith is basically I get a hit and immediately recloak, and then I catch back up and then uncloak burst to try to hit them again. So there's very little holding W against the Wraith, which I love. And the out of invis lunge is incredibly fun and something that people just do not utilize enough. I don't think people realize how far you can lunge out of Wraith's invisibility, especially now that they buffed the duration of it. You can get around an entire medium-sized loop, and doing that stuff, whipping around corners like that, is really, really fun. So if he didn't have that aspect to him, I'd say he wouldn't be even close to A, but because he's got that insane windstorm like whip that he can do after he comes out of invis, he is, in my opinion, very, very fun to play. His map control with Windstorm, or, when the PTB is no longer the PTB, he'll have permanent Windstorm, so even that, his map control is good. Overall, I think Wraith is just a pretty fun killer to play. Also, sneaking up on people can be fun. Freddy F. Put shit on the floor. Ghostface is... stalking people can be... I'm going to put him in C for now. Stalking people can be kind of fun. Sneaking up on people, getting grabbed and stuff like that can be pretty fun. A lot of the time when I play Ghostface, though, I actually don't enjoy myself because I feel guilty because of how broken the mechanics are for revealing him. Like, so a survivor will be like right here, looking directly at me as I'm stalking them, and then I just expose them and they die. And it's just like I don't feel like I earned anything there. That's just the game being fucking dumb and like it stopped the reveal. And then sometimes I get revealed through walls. The whole reveal mechanic just kills the fun for Ghostface for me. Otherwise, I think he'd be pretty fun to play, but as long as this reveal mechanic is super buggy, not a fan. Hag, I'd say probably is a D. It's kind of like Trapper, where it's fun setting up your web and stuff like that. And although most hags play incredibly boring, I think a well-played hag can be actually pretty fun to play. But this is my personal tier list. I don't like playing hag. I don't like killers that require a lot of setup. And hag is that to a nutshell. You know what? I have to have parity with my own choices here. Yeah, hag. I just don't like the setup killers. I like starting the game, getting in chases immediately. It can be rewarding getting a whole web of traps everywhere, and that's really cool, but I like just chasing. Chasing is the most fun part of the game for me, and a killer that spends the first minute not doing that is not a huge fan. In fact, she doesn't really have any chases. She just teleports to people and hits them, so I'm definitely not a fan of the killers that don't have chases. Pig, I'd say, is probably like at the top of C. Kind of like all the stealth killers are going to fall in the same spot except Wraith. Pig's dash is almost never really useful unless you have like combat straps in the tape that makes it actually pretty good. So you're basically just using it for stealth. The traps aren't really engaging and you just put them on and forget about him. But for the most part, I mean, still sneaking up on people's nice. You can use Say the Best for Last, which just by default increases your fun factor. And her dash with the 2 add-ons is actually pretty fun. So I'd say she's pretty much in the middle of the road. I don't mind playing Pig, but she's not exactly amazing. Same thing to do with Myers here. You just pretty much stalk people. But 99ing the stalk, sneaking up on someone with a 99 stalk is pretty fun. It's not fun to have that happen to you. And if I make another video where it's the reverse side, I would say Myers is right near the bottom because it's not fun as a survivor just having 0 warning and then just dying immediately. So that's what Myers does a lot. But stalking people can be pretty fun. Popping a 99 can be pretty fun. He has pretty ridiculous add-ons doing like a tombstone run. It can be actually really fun because the entire match is just totally different from a normal game of DBD. So Myers is pretty average. Demo's a good boy. I like him. I think he's a solid B. He is very simple to play. He's just sort of like a hatchet throwing Huntress that just throws himself instead. He can use his power in kind of the same loops. His power is fun to use. You go yeeting, especially if you do it from the top of a hill, you go far. His power moves extremely fast, and at the end of the day, he can also teleport for some map control too. I think Demo is a very simple killer, but I just find him pretty enjoyable to play. I'll never really complain about playing Demo. Spirit, for some reason, I find pretty damn fun to play. I wouldn't say she's the most fun, but I find Spirit pretty fun to play. Now, obviously, she'd be an F on the other scale, but I don't know why I enjoy. I think it's like it's something to do with like her sounds, like the sound of her power that like that bassy like sound when you use it. I don't know, just something about Spirit. I just enjoy playing her. The only thing that stops me from playing her is I don't enjoy how little counterplay she actually has. So I find the matches to just be sort of boring. I'm basically just playing a single player game at that point, and that ends up not being fun. But when I'm going against a good team that I think is actually like, worthy of going against a Spirit, I find her very fun. I don't know why. I think using audio to track people and doing like a mind game where I'm actually moving in my power. Like I refuse to do the standstill mind game on Spirit. I just find it to be the dumbest thing ever. So if I'm going to stand still, I'll actually use my power and stand still, which is some 5-head shit. I don't know. I hate going against Spirit. I think she's unhealthy for the game in her current state, but I'd be lying if I said she wasn't fun, and I understand why people do enjoy playing her. Oni, big fat S. Oni is one of my favorite killers in the game. The only boring part about him is the first, minute of the game where you probably don't have your power, but every other part of the game is so fun because as soon as you get that first hit, shit just starts getting out of control. And you get your power, and now you have injured people that are going to be constantly supplying your power. You have the orbs for tracking people when your power is not up. And then his power itself is like the most fun power in the game. it's like just Hillbilly on crack. You go so fast, you can whip around corners, you don't slide into walls. You can do a flick at the end of it. It's just like everything about his power is just so fun. Even if you don't use his demon dash, you can still just actually just smashing people with a giant fucking mallet and one-shotting them is really, really satisfying. And hitting flicks around corners with demon dash is satisfying. Just every single thing about his power is fun. I love Oni. He's a great killer. Deathslinger, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't really dislike playing him. It's sort of like the same issue with Spirit, where I feel like if you get good at Deathslinger, there's really not much survivors can do, at least in a chase. They can still beat Deathslinger, but in terms of the actual chase, there's like very little they can do. So it's just kind of, it feels non-rewarding to play. Mostly, I just don't enjoy playing Deathslinger. This is sort of a recursive loop here. I don't enjoy playing Deathslinger because I don't play Deathslinger. I think that's the only reason. I think if I played him more and actually got very good at him, I'd probably enjoy him on the same level as Spirit, even though it's kind of unfair. But I don't, and I don't really want to get into him. So I just find him sort of to play. But I really don't play Deathslinger that much. Pyramid Head I find really boring. You just do the same thing in every loop. Drop your shit on the ground, run through the pallet. If they keep running, you just hit them with your M1. If they don't, then you just use your power. That's it. He has the same gameplay basically every loop. Yeah, you can go out of your way trying to do fancy shots through walls, but more often than not, that'll just screw you over and they'll just get further away. So while that's respectable if you try to play like that, doesn't mean it is the right thing to do, and it usually ends up being worse. So you just play the same boring, dumb way where you just use your power at every loop. Every time you get to a pallet, you just put your thing down. It's just, yeah, it gets very boring. Old Hillbilly, when space was a thing, there's still some space spots, but for the most part, they took most of them away. Would be an S, but I'd say move him down to an A now. Hillbilly, I think, is one of the most universally fun killers in the game. He's fun to go against and he's fun to play, especially if you have like engravings to go whipping around corners at 8,000 miles an hour, flying off hills and shit. Doing airborne tricks with Hillbilly is like some of the most fun I've ever had in this game. Like on old Azerovs or like on Blood Lodge, where you could just go flying above the shack and stuff like that. You could fly out of the map. Like, that shit was really, really fun. And he will forever hold a place in my heart as a fun killer because of the ridiculous shit you can do with his chainsaw. So it's definitely gotten less nowadays. There's still a couple of spots, but he would have been up there at S, but they keep removing his fun space spots. So unfortunately, it's a bit lower now. Huntress is a big fat S. It's just, you're just playing a shooter. It's just a fun thing. I know you can say the same thing about Deathslinger, but Huntress is different because you can A, do cross-map shots, which are the hypest shit ever, and B, there's actually some counterplay to her. Like, you can't just immediately shoot. You have to ready your hatchet, which means the survivor now has to make a plan of, are you going to hold the hatchet? Are you just going to immediately throw it? Should they start juking now? Should they keep running? Like, there's a lot more give and take between the survivor and the killer. So I feel like she's a much more fair version of Deathslinger. So I don't really feel bad playing her, and she's just fun to play. Getting cross-map snipes is on par with Blight's power, but Oni's power too, in terms of funness. And there are I don't think there's no power in the game that can yield as like exciting a moment as a fully cross-map hatchet. That is like the most exciting thing you can do in this entire game, in my opinion. So because of that, I have to put her at S. She's just very fun to play when you're doing, trying to go for like trick shots and stuff like that. Bubba, for some reason, I love Bubba, man. He's so simple. Bubba is my killer that I play when I don't really want to think about much. I just want to take a chainsaw and just fucking just go. I just don't want to I want to just read chat the entire time I'm playing. I just played Bubba for like 2 days straight on stream, and I loved it. I didn't get bored of him for a second. He's actually deceptively decent, so that's good, and he can deal with a lot of stuff that a lot of killers can't deal with. And the whole changes to his power that they made have just been really, really good. Chaining together multiple saws in one is really fun. His add-ons are insanely fun. Iridescent Flesh and Speed Limiter, one of the most fun add-on combinations in the entire game. Just chainsawing for like 14 minutes. It's just really fun. I don't know, Bubba's just a good boy. He's very simple. He's a wholesome little man, but I love playing him. I think he's very simple but fun, and I just love Bubba. Nope. Nurse. Look, if you're good at Nurse, she's probably an S because it's the only killer in the game where you have full control over everything. It's just the entire game is yours. So having that level of power is kind of fun. I don't find that as much fun. And the main reason I have not even really bothered to devote a lot of time to learning Nurse is because I don't think she plays the game. She doesn't play Dead by Daylight. She plays the Nurse game, which is just a totally separate game. I like Dead by Daylight. I like playing that game. I don't want to play Nurse. That's just a completely separate game where none of the mechanics every other killer in the game has to obey matter. So that's the reason I haven't devoted a lot of time to her. I bet if I did, I'd find her pretty fun, to be honest. But I haven't devoted a lot of time for her, so I have to probably drop her down to that. Blight, you guys should know by now, it's definitely going to be an S from me, dog. He is probably right under Oni in terms of fun powers to use. I mean, he's literally a human pinball. That's pretty much all you have to say. The amount of stuff you can do, just bouncing like 5 times and just like flying across the map. He has insane map pressure. He goes incredibly fast. He can use his power at most of the loops in the game if you play it very well. His add-ons are nuts. Like, he just has a lot of really interesting things going for him. And it feels like every time I play Blight, I'm still learning something that I can or can't do. And this is like months and months later. You can't say that about a lot of killers in this game. Most killers in this game are very simple. You just play them and you figure them out in a week and then you're good. Blight, I'm still learning stuff. There's still like, oh shit, I can do it at this tile here if I just time this just perfectly right. Like, so I think the skill cap of Blight is what makes him so fun because I'm still learning stuff. And, slamming your face against walls and hitting people is pretty fun. Clown, no. Basically the same argument as Freddy. You're just throwing shit on the ground. Clown's gameplay can be mastered in 5 seconds. You turn on Clown, you throw your shit at one end of the loop, you throw your speed up shit at the other end of the loop, you force yourself through the fast one, you force them to the slow one. That's it. That's the whole Clown gameplay. Holy shit, he is boring. Doctor's pretty, actually, I think Doctor's actually kind of fun to play. Doctor is deceptively good at chases. I feel like people kind of sleep on him a little bit. His shock is really, really good in chases. Like, really, really good. And there's a lot of fancy stuff you can do with his shocks, too. I'm by no means a master Doctor, but I've seen some really good Doctors play, and they do some pretty crazy shit with their shocks. So I think he's got map control. He's got stuff he can do in loops. And there's a certain skill cap to mastering shocks and timings and things like that that actually make him pretty fun. His add-ons can be very interesting, too. So I think he's just pretty interesting overall. But that is it, guys. Shockingly, my 3 mains are an S tier. Wow. How did that happen? Crazy. But that is my killer fun tier list. These are who I think the most fun killers are to play. I'll probably do another one where I go over who are the least fun to play against. And basically, I'll just make the same guide, but from the survivor side. Who's the most fun killer to go against? So that is it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry about the lack of deep discussions, but frankly, nothing exciting is going on in DBD at the moment. No crazy discussions are happening, no changes. We're just waiting for the new content. So probably going to do some filler content like tier list for a while. Ha.